We know you're not good anymore.
Yes, I do. I do know that this is an octave plus 3 keys, which means I could play Sousa marches. They were written specifically for people with, that could do that, I'm sure,
I assume, Tim, that's a cat's tail. I keep seeing that thing moving around in front of you. There you go.
Oh,
The tail kept going around like that.
that's funny.
Well, when the tail is straight up, that means the cat is happy.
Yes.
Yeah. Tail's high.
And her tail is high most of the time.
That's a good thing. She likes the situation and she wants to keep it that way. She's the boss.
That's the way to keep dishes down. Bob's eating right out of the pot.
This is why I usually mute my video. I could do that.
Yeah, mute the video. Yes.
I like that idea. Right out of the pot. Forget about a plate.
If you had the day
one
I
less
had,
dish to wash. Yeah.
If you had the day I had, you wouldn't have had time to do anything else.
I threw some grilled chicken from Jewel into the air fryer for dinner tonight.
So we can start with open forum questions. Anybody who's got a question can go ahead and launch it. And if I can't answer it, somebody else sure could. Everybody came with answers today? How many people here are using wireless security cameras?
I got one.
No.
Stanford, how many you got? One, okay. And Wayne's got one. Nobody, and you got two, Sid, right?
Yeah, I have the two Arlos.
All right, and you like the
Arlos in
Arlo.
a pack.
Okay.
I got one in a box that I haven't put up yet.
We are in the process of
secure
bidding on a property that's in Michigan and currently has 5 Blink cameras on it.
Ooh.
Wow.
They were serious about trying to keep us out. At least that's the first. I can find 5, but I noticed some things on questions on the FAQ and such that on a lot of these cameras, once they become registered to one person, they have to be physically removed from that person's service before they can be reused somewhere else. And if you don't do it, you'll get an error message that says camera is already registered.
Really?
Yeah. Because I was looking into some of that on cameras and such, and some of the restraints and the kind of batteries they use and whether they can be solar powered as part of their presentation for tonight. So we had Arlo. What other ones do we have here? We got some Ring fans.
Yeah. No. Simple Safe.
Simply Safe. I didn't have Simply Safe down because that's not just a camera. That's an entire package.
Yeah.
It's like ADT or Comcast.
Yeah.
I have TP Link.
TP Link?
Yep.
Oh, you went to the cheap route, right?
Well, this was something I bought like 5 years ago. So
I have Wise.
Wise, okay.
You look too
wise guy.
Yeah.
You look too relaxed there, Sanford.
yeah,
Well, it is an easy chair.
that's an easy chair.
Where's the martini?
I just finished. No martini. I had my COVID shot today, so I'm taking it easy.
Oh, yeah?
Yep, number 1.
I had mine day before yesterday.
There you go.
I only had 99.2 temperature at night, and that was about it. Didn't sleep too well, but yeah.
I just had a sore arm near the injection, but I get that often with injection stuff.
Well, that I get every time I get the injection about 12 hours in, something, just tender, but it's gone now. So my wife got hers yesterday. So she had a little bit of a mild temperature this morning as well. Not considered a temperature when it's less than a degree different from normal, but normally I run low anyway. I'm usually at like a 97.3.
That's where I usually am.
My wife and I both have our both shots, and it's been several weeks, probably 3 weeks for my wife and a couple of weeks for me. So we're all through.
Oh heck, you're out there hanging around at the bar. Well, you're at least on the beach.
Well, that's where we were up until last night or yesterday. We were down on Siesta Key.
Okay, cool.
I went to the dentist about 2 weeks ago, and they did the thermal scan. And she looked at me and she said, "Your temperature is 95." And I said, "Well, it's cold outside." And she said, "Okay." And that was it.
Either that or she left the cap on the thermometer. My wife did that. She says, "I couldn't get a reading above 78. Did you take the cap? Did you get the cap off of the thermometer? What cap?"
You were asking about the wireless camera. I've got an X10.
X10. Oh, that's like the original X10 system?
No, it's more recent.
Okay.
It's got a microchip in it, and it records about 5 days worth of data.
Do you have a service that you use it with, or no?
No.
Okay, because most of these cameras that are available, they could give the camera away for what they charge on the service normally, because you're going to pay upwards of anywhere from maybe $50 to $100 a year for the service, and you're going to keep this thing for how long? What's it got? A 2 or 3 year warranty? They could give the cameras away, especially if you're offered cloud storage. And the question is, how much cloud storage? I know with the original Blink XT2s, they were giving unlimited cloud storage, but then after April 15th, they discontinued that. And the newer ones, they only guarantee you 30 or 60 days, depending on which service you have. Which isn't a long time, it means but some of these you could have the option for local storage and it will wrap around, or you can pull change out a USB drive and fill it up and then put another one in there and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Your video clips.
I have a Ring doorbell, and the Ring is I believe it's $30 a year now.
Yeah.
And if you don't pay for the service, you can do live view or the bell is rung, but that's it. No history at all.
Yeah, because I know that some of the people that I've noticed some gripes on some of them with motion cameras, and depending on whether you have the service or not, they even with the Amazon, they complain that the issue is that something could move through the field of view too quickly, and it wouldn't take a picture in time that you would be able to see it. Like one guy comes complaining he was trying to track whether a possum was coming into his, like by his front door or something, and it never quite triggered on the possum, even though it kept on getting triggered. And the possums don't move too quickly usually.
Around here, people complain that they don't catch the coyotes.
Yeah. And it's kind of hard. And some of them, what's the range of the sensors? I did not put this in the presentation, but the best range that you can find on some of these is only 30 feet. And they may have 100 feet field of view, but they can only detect motion within 15 or 30 feet.
Yeah.
I suppose if you had a very powerful infrared source to illuminate at night, then you might have greater range.
Yeah, but then you'd run into regulatory issues and all that.
No, I was referring to not power of that, but just a infrared source to illuminate everything, because you could cook outside if you wanted.
Ambient.
Yeah.
Ambient.
I know that the physical range of most of these devices is not much more than 100 feet. So, and it depends on your Wi-Fi as well. But 100 feet to a hub usually, and then the hub communicates with Wi-Fi. So they don't describe in those cases what the communication is between the camera and the hub, which could be even Bluetooth in some cases. Go ahead, Sanford.
I just wanted to add, I said that I had one camera, which I do. I only have one wireless. I actually had two and one crapped out on me. But I also have, in addition, I wired up the house with hardwired cameras, an Anki system that I bought off of Newegg. I somehow came across a deal for the box and the cameras. I think it had 5 cameras for $90. And all I had to do was throw in a hard drive in it. And that was it. And then I ran wiring up in my attic and I put them in place. And those all have infrared. They run 24/7.
Yeah.
And, it was a cheap investment to get into this thing. Heck of a lot cheaper than paying for a service. Now, the wireless one I particularly use just to monitor the garage, the inside of the garage, in case somebody came in or I need to see, it's just for what's going on in the garage. But I don't use any cameras internally in the house. Wife does not like to be spied on. So.
I know that some of these cameras have the capability of not recording certain portions of the view, like you can block out the view to the bathroom.
Right.
Now, for the wired, Sanford, do you have any backup electrical?
No, I didn't bother with that. It's just plugged into the wall. I didn't think it was necessary to put in this particular situation. Could I put if someone decided to cut the wires to the house, all our electric here is underground. Yeah. So they would have to get in the house, get down to the basement, which is where the panel was at, to throw the panel. They'll get caught on the cameras at that point.
Well, the one thing they would do, all they really have to do if they want to cut off power to a house, you go to the meter, clip the tag, unscrew the meter to remove power from the house.
Yeah, and that's true. And if they want it that bad, have at it. Yeah.
I'm talking about if there were some natural situation that just caused a blackout.
Yeah. Well, if there's a volcano in the backyard, you probably don't need to know that.
Right. And could I put a bit UPS on it? Absolutely. It's one thing I just never felt the need to do, but it is advisable to put a backup on there.
What kind of wiring did it require? Did you have to put in just video cable?
It came with its own wiring setup, so it runs kind of like a coax that has a USB power running to it along with it. So it's a 2-wire setup that runs to the cameras, and then they just connect together, and then that connects to the back end of the DVR.
Right. I know that some of the really early pioneers in this were the video doorbells like a iPhone, and they ended up using 2-wire to go to between the display monitor, very specialized display monitor, very specialized doorbell, and it would communicate at like 64 kilobit.
Okay.
With serial interface and low resolution, but you could still make out who's at the door, pressing the door and see motion and such.
I believe they're all 720p.
They're 720. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
The new rings are 1080, but I have one of the older ones.
Yeah, that's what you need if you want to do any of this AI software to identify faces.
I believe the latest one has Alexa service built in. So if the person comes to the door, they can talk to Alexa.
Yeah. Well, if they're delivering a package, maybe they want to.
As the speaker tells them back, sorry, I'm not interested. The person here may be, but I'm not going to bother them right now. Sorry.
I'm sorry, Dave. I cannot let you do that.
There you go. There you go.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal. Don't you know you're supposed to say Hal first and then open the pod bay doors? Yeah.
Just for the
Otherwise it
hell
doesn't
of
hear
it.
you. Yeah. I'm looking.
I'll be back in a few minutes. I've got to flip machines here, so I'll be back on the iPad.
Okay.
Back in a few.
Just looking for another directory I had here on one of my machines. I know that the ones that we use at our church, we have a 8-camera system wired from Spico Technologies, and those are all IP cameras with like 3 megapixel apiece and a pair of 4 terabyte drives for storage. And they can either free run or they can be motion select. And I've noticed that even on that, the motion select sometimes is false. So it doesn't pick up some things on motion detect, especially at night. Even though they have their night and they have IR illumination on each camera, but it depends on how far away you're trying to take a picture of something. And it's probably about 40 feet away. It doesn't reliably trigger. But so in those cases, we just let those cameras free run and then we can view them as needed. But even with those kind of cameras, that's pretty much a high-end digital system, like an NVR16. But even then, you're not going to be able to make out license plates with it. You can compromise. You can, if you had even adjustable zoom, it's not a dynamic zoom, it's a fixed zoom. And the position of the camera is usually fixed so that they don't overlap each other by much. And when you try and open the field of view so you can see as much of a parking lot as possible, you can't focus in on one thing. So what they show you on TV isn't always true. It is kind of nice, though, if you do take a single frame of the video and save it as an image. It's a 14 megapixel image. And I've had to do that before. But I can't quite take the distant shots of something that's like 150 feet away and like, can you tell me who was there? Not quite. I can tell you if somebody was there or not, maybe. So no questions tonight. We all got all the answers today. I'm sure you had a question, Kathy.
I thought I was going to have 2 problems to talk to you about tonight. I've been very frustrated with Microsoft this week.
Ooh.
My Microsoft Surface Pro 4 is on 2004, and I know it did an update early in the week, and I booted up the computer after that, and I looked down at the taskbar, and the icon for showing the battery status was gone. And I was like, wait a minute, where is that? So I started Googling to find out, and there was all this talk online about how Microsoft decided to remove that because it wasn't needed. And I was like, what do you mean it's not needed? My Surface Pro 4 is real, it's very touchy. If I let the battery get down to like 19%, when it hits 15%, I have to grab my cord and plug it in immediately because like within 2 minutes, it's going to die. The rest of the battery is going to die. Mm-hmm. And I've learned that, I try not to let it run down that low, but occasionally I forget. And so I just always keep the plug near me. And so, I was doing all this research online. How do I get it back? and I found something and I tried it, but it didn't work. Oh, and I was so mad, and I just put it aside. And like the next day, I got on my computer and the battery icon is back. So
you had an update.
Look in the chat, Kathy. Look in the chat. I have a reference for you, and it's from Dell.com.
Oh, I can't.
Dell community has an answer. It's in the chat.
I can't go into the chat on my iPad, or at least I don't know how to do that.
Somebody tell her how. Somebody doing iPad.
Go up to the upper right-hand corner or the menu, and if you pull it down.
Oh, this is okay. Chat. Okay, so I see that, but
You can copy that onto your iPad or into your storage.
Okay, I'm not sure how to do that, but
Just
Take a
highlight
picture.
the information.
Just take a
It's a
picture of
copy.
it.
Yeah, take a screenshot of it.
Yeah, just take a screenshot. You know how to do that on the iPad?
no, actually I don't. But now I disappeared out of the Zoom and I'm actually opening the link. No, I don't actually know how to do a screenshot.
Well, maybe somebody can tell you or show you how to do that.
Yeah. On the iPad, to do a screenshot, you have the upper thing that you turn it on and off with, and then also the button down below, and you push them at the same time, and it'll take a picture.
I send it to you as an email.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Okay,
I could do that. I could do that.
so now I got myself out of Zoom and I'm trying to get back into Zoom. Oh no.
You just got the
Too
video.
bad Bert's still not at the meeting. He uses an iPad heavily and that, so he knows a lot of the ins and outs of it.
I'm on an iPad here. If you hit the home button twice, do a fast double hit on the home button, it'll show all those windows, and then you can click on Zoom.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You're back.
I'm back. Yay.
You learned something new.
That's
Okay, we
like
did it.
Control Alt Delete on a Windows computer.
What did you say? What
It's
did you
like
say?
what you just did with clicking the home button twice is the equivalent on a PC with Windows. Control Alt Tab.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Switch.
Control Alt Tab goes through all your open programs and allows you to select which one you want.
Okay. Got it. But so anyway, so the next day the battery icon came back. I was like, okay, well, people must have complained and they brought it back again. So that was earlier in the week. And then I think it was yesterday.
Gone again.
They must have done another update that I was unaware of. And I log on, and instead of normally it boots up to my desktop, and instead it booted up to the page that has all the GUI apps on it. And I said, okay, well, I'll just click into the desktop. And I even noticed that I tried clicking on the start button in the lower left corner, and the start button didn't work because I was on the app page and the taskbar at the bottom didn't have any of the icons on it. They all disappeared. I was like, what are you guys trying to do to me here? Well, anyway, I played around with it and I finally got back into the desktop. So it must have been a default when they did an update, because I got back into the desktop and now every time I boot down and I boot back up again, now I'm back at where I should be again. But I was just so frustrated.
It almost sounds like you were in tablet mode when you first came up. And tablet mode has its own quirk to get out of tablet mode back into desktop mode. And it's kind of like if you remember Windows 8. If you hit the start button, puts you in tablet mode, and then you had to futz around trying to figure out how to get the darn thing back into the desktop.
Oh,
And that's essentially what you probably experienced.
That would make me about this close to moving to Linux.
If you want that, right now I got a sick puppy. It's got 2 small hard drives, 2 versions of Windows, one on each, and 4 versions of Linux on each drive for 10 operating systems. But right now I'm having some headaches with it.
I don't know if it was Ed making that joke, but I actually did go to Linux when Windows 8.0 started doing this sort of stuff.
Hey, Ubuntu works just fine.
I tried. I remember going to a show, and that's where I got introduced to Linux. But back in the 90s, it was still way too primitive.
No. That was 2.4. That wasn't Ubuntu.
Yeah, well,
I have some machines that run 2.4. Okay,
Yeah.
but it's really good if you don't have more than 1 gig of memory.
yeah. Well, all I know is way back then it was real bad, but eventually it started getting better. And I remember Suzy Linux. I liked it a lot. And then I don't know why I drifted away from it, but I play with Ubuntu, Mint. I like some of the Arch type ones, like Manjaro, and I'm playing with Blue Star and
I don't go for too many of the different versions. Ubuntu and Debian, you know. Well, actually, Ubuntu is a Debian release, so it's almost the same thing.
Yeah. And
anyway.
essentially same with Mint. Mint is made from Ubuntu, which is made from Debian, etc.
Anyway, did we answer Kathy's questions?
I think we got most of them.
I think you did, and I think you were right. Because at one point it did pop up a message saying to me, "Do you want to exit out of tablet mode?" And I did exit out, but by that point in time, I had somehow gotten my desktop back, and everything was okay. But I don't like operating in tablet mode, so I just said yes. I want to get out of tablet mode, and ever since it's been fine. But so yes, you did answer my questions about that, and then on top of that, then yesterday I spent about an hour and a half on the phone with Comcast, fighting with them because my 2-year contract had come up, and I didn't have to threaten that I was going to leave them, but I told them that the $50 monthly increase was unacceptable.
Yeah.
And so we negotiated back and forth, and well, you know how that goes. That was thoroughly frustrating. So between Microsoft and Comcast, I have not been very happy this week.
Talking to Comcast on the phone is like the old adage, never argue with a fool. People might not know the difference.
Well,
one other thing, Kathy, if you want to reduce a little your frustration, except when updates or upgrades come in, go to your settings, go to System, and in the left-hand column is Tablet, and make sure all the switches are off. That way it won't come up in tablet mode again.
Okay, so go to Settings, System, and Tablet, and make sure all the settings are off?
Yeah, that way it won't go into tablet mode if you disconnect the keyboard.
Well, my PC doesn't have a tablet mode, so I don't run into that, but I used to have one that did. And yeah, if you switch that off, everything off for tablet, you will save yourself aggravation upon aggravation. And Sanford has his hand up.
Okay, I see Sanford has his hand up. He just moved from the easy chair to the basement.
Okay.
Are you trying to hide Sanford?
No. I thought I'd get to. I asked the question at last night's, Tuesday's meeting on the South Suburban Club, and I didn't get an answer that I could work with. But anyways, here's my problem. My problem is on my Windows Home Server version 2, which is running Server 2008 Release 2. I have a Net Framework KB And I can get you the KB number is KB 4535102. This one has been trying to install for over a year, and it can't get installed. And when I try to debug it, let me click on it. It says get more help with this error, and it gives me the error code of 800920004. Tells me absolutely nothing. So if I look up and click on that error code, it doesn't reference the KB that I have a problem with. It references something else. And I can't seem to find a solution to this one on the Microsoft website. I was looking to see if there was any tips on how I could root out this problem.
According to an Ask Woody on Windows Home Server 2011, you need to make sure you have the SH2 code signing support KB 4474419 in place.
Okay, can you send me that link?
Sure.
In the chat, and I'll take a look at it.
Okay.
What did you say that? Okay,
Ask Woody came up when I was doing the search.
Okay.
So I'll just put it here for everyone in case anyone wants to see it.
Yeah, that'd be their website.
Okay, right. We know Bob loves Ask Woody, which is great. I'm not knocking it
because I've seen.
I love it a little less since Woody left, but yeah, it's good.
I've seen similar ones with my older Windows 7 machines, and I got to the point where I would always, whenever I had to reload Win 7 on a machine, I go through and load my standard 7 or 8 manual loads without going through the Windows Update process, but actually booting the machine before it can do Windows Update, disconnect from the internet, and then manually click and apply the updates so that I could get them into the system, because otherwise Windows Update was unable to communicate with its server if you didn't have the certain pieces in place. Because if you haven't been getting updates all along and you just all of a sudden fired up something that's a year or two old, it didn't have all the updates and it could no longer communicate. So you had to apply these things in a semi-specific order. But some of them were the Stack Overflow ones. One was the SH2 hash needed because it can't recognize anything it downloads because it can't decode it.
Okay, so, it's just kind of encryptic for me. It says, in the Ask Woody site, it says Windows Update requires SHA-2 code signing. What the hell is that?
It's a different type of encryption technology because the SH1 got compromised. And that's the one that you came with Win 7. So SH2 got an update and used a larger key, among other things, and changed some stuff on how stuff was done to eliminate the loophole that was in the original logic. And, well, Microsoft was slow to adopt it. That thing had been around for years before that. They could have used it, but they didn't. Okay. And then they finally get around to doing it. And after they did it, nobody who didn't have it could get updates after that.
Yeah, it looks like this is a problem that other people have had, and it doesn't seem to have been repaired. Because I'm reading through and where people have addressed other people around the world, and this has happened all throughout the year. People say it still keeps coming back. So I guess it's just something I got to live with.
Well, you can look and see it, all the other stuff that they posted. Some of them had it work, some people had it work like a charm if you go and look at some of these things. So it might be one of the other ones that was missing. I always found it was like not just one, but several different ones that were missing, or you needed to apply in a particular order for that to work.
Okay.
But it sounds very similar to the problem that I was having on my Win 7 machine. I will always get one of those 8009 type of error codes, different ones, but usually some of them are no help at all. Oh, you need to delete the entire catalog and re-download it again. No, that never works.
Yeah, right.
Let me add one more thing. You may also need a servicing stack update.
Yes. Definitely the servicing stack update ones too.
The servicing stack?
Yes, because there was a bug they corrected in one of the Sys32 modules. And servicing stack update is required to use the Windows Update.
And those do not have a KB number.
Okay.
You just connect to the update server and it should happen automatically. There may be a way to force it from the catalog.
I think I've downloaded the servicing stack updates myself in the past. I just don't remember which one I downloaded, but I have manually downloaded some of those. They didn't come through as a KB, but they came through as a special manual. Download this and execute it.
Yeah. I think that may be in the catalog, but not in Windows Update.
Yeah, I think that's where it is.
Okay, I'll take a look and see if I can track that down.
And make sure you get the right one for your 32 or 64-bit and the right
64-bit.
processor, because you need to make sure that's all right before you turn it loose. And
Yes.
to get it applied, you'll have to do it before it fires up Windows Update, which is about 90 seconds into the boot.
Oh, okay.
I mean, there's a trick for some, if you manually download it, because the problem is you go to click on it and it says, I'm already checking for updates, and it never completes because it's broke. So you got to get in before it does it. Either you fire up your copy of Windows, shut down the Windows Update service manually, and then, go and try and manually apply this update. Let it apply it, and after it applies the update, it restarts the Windows Update service again. So if that doesn't fix it, you may sit there spin trying to look for Windows Update. But I always would look at the Windows Update log file in real time with something like Notepad++, and I could see what was happening in real time. Like, yes, it's got an error again. I'm going to have to shut it down and try it again. But you could then see, once it starts communicating, you'll see it downloading all kinds of stuff like, oh, I'm missing this, I'm missing this. Got it working now.
Sometimes running the Windows Update troubleshooter, sometimes running the Windows Update troubleshooter will catch some of these issues as they come up. But
You
not
got to
always.
get the right. You got to get the right one, and unfortunately, I always ended up that went down a rat hole for that one.
Yeah. That can happen.
It was on a regular basis, but that was very frustrating where I would finally get the right 6 or 7 things and they had to be applied here. This. Now, okay, I got it back. And then they would change something else and something else would stop loading. Yeah.
But the point of that servicing stack update is it enforces the SHA2 upgrade so that in the future, everything will download correctly and install correctly.
Okay.
Yeah, and once I got it up, like I did this to like about 4 or 5 machines that I didn't do Windows updates on a regular basis or something, and it had those warnings that said you better have your Windows update up to date by this time, otherwise you won't get any updates in the future. That's when they changed to the SH2.
Okay.
Go ahead, Wayne.
Yeah, I've got a question about Facebook. We were down in Florida this last couple of weeks, and I got a text from one of my friends that said that they'd been asked to be a friend, which they already were. So I went in and I changed the password on my Facebook, made it a 2-factor verification. And then last night I got a call from my son telling me that they were getting things from me.
It has nothing to do here. It has nothing to do with your Facebook account.
That's
Somebody has put a copycat of your Facebook account out there with a subset of your information that they could reach.
How do they do that?
Have you restricted it so only friends of friends can do this?
That's what I did. I went in and made everything restricted.
Okay, but I mean, if you hadn't, and somebody downloaded your picture from Facebook, because sometimes they can do that, they can create a profile randomly. If you go in, and sometimes this does better on a phone than it does a web browser, because on the phone, when I use a browser on a phone, I can see what the Facebook ID is clearly. I don't always get it on the browser. But I've seen number of cases where people, I've seen a friend of a friend be spoofed, okay, because that's what it is. And they'll say, oh, how am I getting a second friend request?
I think that's what's going on. Now I've gotten a couple emails now from Facebook itself indicating that they were looking into this. that had been recorded that somebody was, using my name. So that's what I figure they're doing. They're spoofing. They haven't actually.
It's not it, but it's actually there's another account on just like your account out there. And
Right.
if you can find it and it has your stuff on it, report it to Facebook as a spoof account and they'll burn it.
And how would I do that?
Well, just go search for your name, okay, and see if anybody comes up with your likeness on it. If somebody comes up with your likeness when you do a search for you, guess what? They're spoofing you. And it's probably somebody in Jamaica or who knows where. I'm not being racist or anything, but there's a lot of people that scam from other locations. Unfortunately, in your case, most of the time, they're attractive young ladies that are being spoofed.
Now, I did notice when I went in there to see where things had been logged on, and it was one day something got logged on in Atlanta, Georgia. And obviously, I was not in Atlanta, Georgia.
Right.
But that was before I changed my password on my Facebook account.
How do you prove it to Facebook, Ed, that the other one is...
Well, usually...
that you're not the spoofer and the other guy is a spoofer.
Well, because you can say, here's my account and here's the one here, and I've been here longer, and I'm the one that answers to this telephone number for the security.
Right.
Right. I mean, you'll find out that the spoof accounts don't have a good telephone number to use. They're not using your phone number. They're using somebody else's phone number. You can prove that they're using your likeness from something else, and yours predates theirs, so they're spoofing you.
Yeah. All this comes under the general category of scammers.
Yep.
Scammers are out one way or another to get your personal information and or get money out of you one way or another.
Right,
And never publish your full birth date or any other information that can uniquely identify you that somebody can use in conjunction with something else, like what your first pet was, because that's a security question to your bank, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
How do you inform? I don't have a Facebook account, but how do you inform a Facebook ad of this spoofing? Do they have a phone number?
Well, you look in the Facebook webpage. You can find a report this profile.
Okay.
Almost all websites have some kind of an address, usually at the bottom somewhere or under about, etc., that allows you to contact them about any kind of fraud that you think is going on, or other scam operations. And this includes your email. And they will investigate it and try and shut the stuff down.
Okay.
Yeah. Although the one that doesn't choose to do much with it happens to be Discover. They could care less about the girl who calls up and says she's Debbie from Discover and wants to save me money.
Yeah.
I said, give me a fake account that the minute they try and access anything on it, a cruise missile is targeting their location. I mean, it's easy. What was it Stalin said? Human, that's the problem. Well, if there's no human, then there's no problem.
Well, the scammers get away with what they get away with, and we're talking billions and billions of dollars a year, simply because they know how to social engineer people to do things they ordinarily would not do.
Yeah.
Well, see, they've been sending out wanting to be, to make a friend. I've gotten people that I already were friends with that were getting requests to be a friend.
Yeah, and that's the key, is that somebody has taken somebody. Whenever I see a duplicate friend request of somebody I know that's already a friend, then I'll look and see if this is a spoof request. And I've let people know when I found spoof requests of somebody who doesn't have anywhere near the same history, the number of posts, the photos. They'll have only a select few photos, just enough information to make it look somewhat real. They don't spend the time to copy. They can't copy the entire history. So they have just enough, and then they start sending off friend requests, and you'll see how many friends that they fooled by looking at how many friends that person has. That's the people you want to contact and said, This one with this Facebook profile is not me.
Yeah.
Unfriend them and report them to Facebook.
Okay.
So that's how you can find, but you got to find yourself. And then once you find yourself and it's not you, it's not your profile, then you can say, whose friends do they have? And then you just look at their friend, because you can usually see their friend list, because they usually have it pretty wide open because they're trying to drag as many people as they can into this.
Now, how do I contact Facebook then?
We right click on that profile and it says report this profile to Facebook.
Okay.
I mean, when I find one of these things, there's usually some setting somewhere on that little section that says report this profile, and then they'll ask me some questions. Why do you think I should report this? It's a fraudulent profile. Boom.
Okay.
And then let Facebook actively go to it, because I found a lot of this stuff where, especially during the election, where there was false news stories being propagated by some of these accounts. These could be Russian hackers. So easily enough, you find the bad ones and you weed them out. Anybody else found a doppelganger for themselves?
No, actually, lately I've posted articles in the news and tips on the website that are encouraging people to Google themselves to find out what information about them is out there on the internet. And in some cases, you might be able to get some of it removed.
I have the opposite problem. Equifax doesn't even know I exist.
Oh, lucky you.
That's good.
I like the websites that give you the option of unsubscribing, and then when you go into it, it takes you there, then it asks you for your email address.
9 times out of 10, that's a scam in itself.
Yeah.
And I've posted a lot of articles that say, hey, don't do that because that's usually what happens.
What I do is I look up, when I get one of these things that comes through, I will see what is in the message. If it's not if it's a completely encrypted message, there's not much I'm going to go into it and look. But I can look at the IP address that the email came from.
Yeah.
I can go check it against blacklisted sites. I can pull up the domain information about the site they're trying to direct me and see who owns that. And sometimes I go a couple steps further, usually, to see if there's something that's happening fraudulently. Sometimes even on one case, I was able to, on one email, I located it. It was on the email sourced from a router in Korea, and I was able to log into the router with the remote admin with the default password, and I changed the remote password. I shut down the email service and changed the remote password. So anybody who's got physical access to the router, they can go and manually reset it. Mm-hmm. But if they're going to turn on the email forwarding service, they don't no right to do this, and it's spreading crap in my mailbox. So I think, okay, you touched me, I'm going to touch you back. Don't mess with a hacker.
Well, most of my spam, the vast majority, comes from about 4 or 5 servers.
Mine come from a collection of randomly selected. The problem I've found with a lot of the servers are the IP address they've been sent from has been spoofed, okay, and is no longer in existence. And how do you spoof an IP address? Well, this is common in places like Romania. If you try and do a trace route to the address before everything expires, you find out that you're tracing this thing, it's going to Northeast Europe, and then it's going to Eastern Europe, and it's getting to Romania, and then all of a sudden it says it's in the middle of Australia. No, it's not in the middle of Australia. They spoofed the IP address for the middle of Australia because there ain't too many people that's going to complain about that are running Wi-Fi at Ayers Rock. So what they do is they put up a router on the internet, and it advertises a route to Ayers Rock in the middle of Eastern Romania.
Yeah,
and it goes to the whole network, and it says, "Yep, that's good. That's a good link there. It goes right to Ayers Rock. We know." And then they start they dump all their emails, and then they disconnect and knock the router down, and it's no longer reachable. You might see it in the history of like when you do the trace route back and get so far, and then all of a sudden it times out because they've already shut down that address.
Yeah, I was not talking about IP addresses. I was talking about the top level and the second level domains.
And you can spoof the domains too. I mean, you can poison a DNS route and then do it the other way. And there's ways to do that. But sometimes there's actual, servers, Amazon machines that are been compromised. I mean, they've been left alone. Somebody signed up for a domain and left an open hole, never logged in, and it's still set to whatever it was. And okay, people are going to use that as a mail route or as a place to park their code so that you can download it onto your machine and get compromised and join to the botnet from hell. Fortunately, I don't like to participate in those. I do have issues somehow with, like, some of the websites. City cards happens to be one of my pet peeves lately. It just seems that I can no longer use a 2 gigabyte machine with any browser to access some of my data on that machine.
I have problems with banking websites that don't like Linux.
Well, it complains. It says out of memory. I'm just trying to download an invoice, and you are out of memory? What are you trying to load into my machine? Are you trying to load a bitmap from hell? Are you downloading, every transaction known to man in the background? Running out of memory in 2 gigabytes is kind of, actually 3 gigabytes is kind of ridiculous.
It's advertising.
And it is advertising, even with an ad blocker. They are still sending in other stuff that doesn't need to be there. And I've, registered some complaints with them and said, why don't you put your web on your site on a diet? You're the only one that happens to have this problem. And if I wasn't required to have this card for my Costco access, I wouldn't be keeping this card.
They're tracking you through favicons, and they have to generate enough entropy bits, which means they have to do at least 32 redirects per page.
There's a lot of stuff that's there, super cookies and favicons and who knows what.
I use SafeScript and NoScript, whether it's Chrome or Firefox. It's not for everybody because it can be a pain in the butt to get what you want, and block out all the ads, blocks out any extraneous scripts that normally would run from a site. And the biggest headache I find, there are some sites you go to, they got only one little script. You got other ones that exceed 30 scripts. And I say, baloney.
Well, that's great for scripts, but that was the last generation of tracking. Now they're doing browser fingerprinting, they're doing favicon tracking, they're doing super cookies, and none of that gets blocked if you block scripts.
Right, and I even tried to do it through Opera, and even Opera complained out of memory. The lightest weight browser I can run on Win 7 said it was out of memory too. So they're pulling in something huge, who knows what. And like I said, I complained to them. They're like, why don't you guys get your act together? So we'll see. I've never had this problem with some of the other equivalent card profiles. Discover never gave me that issue, and I have a lot of stuff that wants to pop up in Discover. But come on now, it's a card user that's accessing your system. So
yeah, my apartment community's resident portal is a terrible one. They have pages that just simply literally will not load because they've got so much stuff they try to download.
In which case, I'm about ready to block half of the super sites that they think they're accessing stuff from and think, okay, well, we can't load this, can't load that graphic. Maybe they'll finally get to what I need to get.
Well, that's what I do with the SafeScript and NoScript. Mm-hmm. Basically, that's what I'm doing. I'm saying only give me, and I have to make the decision, what scripts I will let run, and it's a big guessing game at the beginning. Yeah. If it's got a CDN in it, usually that's a required script. Most of the ad ones say add in there. and you don't have to have a C double script to know that it's all about ads.
Yeah.
And anything that's got ads never gets touched and okayed. And I will initially do them as temporary. When I think I've got exactly the scripts I need to get what I want out of the site, those temps turn into permanent. And very seldom do they change the scripts enough that I can't get my stuff.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing that is aggravating is going to websites and they say, they show you your statement or whatever, and you go to download it and it doesn't download because it wants to save an HTML file or something like, got to print it instead. And then you can print it to a PDF, but you can't just save it right at that point, even though that's an option. Oh, go ahead and download it. Now, I don't want to download the link to the thing that I'll never be able to use again.
The sites that I use offer the option of CSV files.
Well, I have that too, but I'm looking for maybe a check image or something.
Yeah, that'll be an image file.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't want to, I want to download the whole statement or something. Usually it's like an EOB or of something in a medical realm, you know, and that's, some people do it right. Other people don't know how to do it at all.
If they do it right, it'll be a PDF.
Yeah. If they do it right, you click on it and it's going to save the PDF file down and away you go. But then some banks, they're not quite right. You know, you got to get to the next level or you got to click into it and then you can save it. And or you just print it instead. If you can't download it or it says network failure when you do the download, then you got to print to it. Yeah. Printing still seems to function.
Have you ever tried some of the screen capture programs that capture everything, including what's not showing on the screen at the given time?
Usually not. I'll do a OneNote screen capture or do the Win 10 screen capture. Yes. Yeah.
It probably is, but
yeah. But I mean, if I can see it on the screen, I'll capture this. I know there's stuff out there, the 1 pixel track me's and stuff like that. You know, not too concerned about that. I'm just trying to get my information out so I can use it for taxes and whatever.
Yeah. Two things. First of all, the screen capture won't always work on secure sites. It may just go black. The other thing, or show a blank page. The other thing I want to say with regard to script blocking, you don't necessarily have to go that far. You can just block the known ad sites, and that's what Ghostery does.
Okay.
Ghostery doesn't require a lot of configuration or a lot of deciding on your own.
Well, I do it the old-fashioned way, I guess, because I've been using the script blockers for well over a decade. And I know about blacklisting individual sites, like DoubleClick would be one of them as an example. But there's such a proliferation of these damn things. It's almost like using the script blockers in the first place because of all the work you got to do on your end to block out the crap you don't want.
Yeah. And then if you're in California, you could be part of the massive lawsuit against Google about incognito mode.
Yeah, that's. I already knew about incognito mode on any of the browsers as being a load of crap to start with.
It never worked because you would search for something in incognito mode and it would show up on your Facebook feed. Like, okay, we know about this really here, Google. So if I want to do something, incognito mode, DuckDuckGo. Okay, now you can go and search whatever you want, and it doesn't show up in your Facebook feed. You have a little bit more secure. If I want to be more secure than that, then I go get an Onion router bootable flash drive and boot it up that way, and they ain't going to track nothing there.
Right. I have Tails too.
Have anybody used the VPN that's included with Opera at all?
I think I tried it once, but I didn't continue using it. I've heard a few things that didn't sound so hot, and I don't remember what they were because it was a long time ago. And also, Firefox has one now, but you got to pay for it.
Yeah, this was free, and I just thought, well, that's interesting.
Well, the bad part about most VPNs are free. They're not worth it because they're actually tracking you and selling the information to earn money that you're not paying them in the first.
Well, that's if you have one of these VPNs that you've located and the host site is China. Okay, so a lot of those are tracking a lot more than they're supposed to.
Yeah.
If you got a paid for VPN and it's a reputable country and you know more about it, then I use a paid VPN myself, and I don't mind that one bit. It gives me some additional privacy, but sometimes, especially like the bad weather we had, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you must have been out of town. At any rate, that really slowed down the internet, and VPNs got even slower because you do pay a tax in response time with VPNs, but some are way better than others. Well, it depends on your VPN, how it's set up, how many bit key you're using. I mean, if you want to do the most secure, you're going to be doing 2048-bit key, and that takes seconds to run through on a slower machine. So you got to be careful, trade off your computing power on your end, and you got to remember what's on the other end that's encoding it. I mean, you're sharing a server with how many other people, and you get so much processing power, it's going to take a toll on that as well.
Yeah, that's very true.
So unless they dedicate one of the new super Radeon chips to do the encoding for you, and you can decode it on your end. All right, so I think I'm going to load up my presentation here if I can find it. Bear with me a second here. And there we go. Good. And let's do view mode, read mode. Good.
I was going to say one last thing about cleaning up web pages and making them work faster. Sometimes reader mode helps too, where you're just seeing the plain text.
Yeah. Okay, let's try to do the share and voila. Okay, is that too big for anybody?
Don't see it.
You see it yet?
I got it.
Okay. Okay, wireless security cameras. Okay, let's see. Wireless security cameras. So we have security systems that are pretty much ubiquitous in both homes and businesses, and a lot of systems are using pre-wired video cables or low-voltage twisted pair or even Ethernet Cat5. But there's some newer wireless security cameras now, include multiple camera device capabilities, both wireless and battery operated in some cases. So I'm going to go through some of the popular consumer versions and what you might need to install, or whether or not it's going to cost you a lot to run this thing. So a couple of them here, the Arlo Pro. These were some of the top ones in at least one or two reviews. So I thought I'd focus on those. There's a lot more, but looking at these, you can say, well, what am I going to compare it to? So Arlo Pro, like the 4, has a 2K video resolution and has HDR capability, which means it's going to have high dynamic capabilities, just like your TV screen. When it wants to have the blacker blacks, same thing on a video camera, less noise and a little bit clearer picture. This one can also do some color vision at night. Most wireless cameras give you a black and white image at night because the camera sensor is not as sensitive. So they either have a much more sensitive imager or they have had an additional source of infrared that they're flooding the area with. Typically, when these things are run battery only, you can get about a 6-month battery life before you got to pop in new batteries. This, like most, have two-way audio. That means you can talk to the person that just came up to your front door and said, "What the heck?" Some of them also, and I'm pretty sure this one, have siren capabilities as well. So you can click the siren, and 90 dB might not be so loud, outside, but if it's next to him and it's by the front door, it's going to bring attention, and that's something that they don't want usually. You don't have to have a hub with an Arlo Pro. But you can add one if you want to use local storage. That's important if you want to have your own USB or micro SD chip capable, or even USB. I'm not sure if it'll work with a USB powered hard drive or not. Most of the time they have a limit as to the maximum size that they can handle. These are pricey. They're about $180 for an Arlo Pro 4. You can get the Arlo 2 or Arlo Ultra, I think they call it, which adds 4K to the imaging, or you can do the Arlo 3. Both use the Arlo hub to connect to Wi-Fi. So they don't connect directly to Wi-Fi like the Arlo Pro 4 does. You can get options like rechargeable batteries and an optional solar panel to put above this to recharge the unit, which might be kind of nice because then you don't have to worry about playing musical batteries except every several years when the rechargeable batteries wear out. Recording plans. Typically, these are pretty much about the same as most of the other ones that are out there. About $10 a month for 30-day storage on the cloud for up to 5 cameras with 2K resolution. You got to pay more if you want 4K resolution. And if you use the hub, then you can have local storage with a USB or micro SD chip. And you can use local storage without a subscription with this device. Blink has both indoor and outdoor cameras. Now, they recently changed from the XT2 to just calling it the Blink Outdoor, Blink Indoor, and Blink Mini. The XT2 was their previous version, which was discontinued in October of 2020. You have about a 2-year battery life using the AA Energizer lithium batteries, not lithium ion. They can record this number of seconds in live view, 5,882 seconds or 43,200 seconds with motion activated recording, or 4,788 seconds of two-way talk. How do they guarantee that? I have no idea. But somebody put it in their specifications, and if you exceed that, then probably your battery life will suffer. Although people have complained about battery life. This averages out to like about 70 seconds a day for 2 years doing two-way talk. You can't, it was recommended you don't use alkaline batteries or rechargeable batteries, even though people do provide rechargeable batteries and solar panels for Blink, not recommended according to the manufacturer. If you're going to drive up to 10 cameras, you got to have a hub. You don't need a hub for the Mini, but just about all the XTs require a hub. And if you want to do local storage, which means you have to have a drive that's between 1 gig and 256 gig, and as long as it has a certain amount of storage available, it will continue to record in a round-robin fashion on that drive, making Blink backups. I still question some of these choices of using USB drives for video recording. Sometimes that causes premature wear of a USB flash card or a USB drive. Just to warn. This does work with Alexa. You can say, Alexa, show me my live feed on the camera, and you'll be able to see it on your machine. Prior to April 15th of last year, the XT2s had unlimited cloud storage, but now they've limited it. You can get this in an indoor, an outdoor, and a mini version. The outdoor is certified for outdoor use. I think it's -5 to 120. The mini can work without a hub, but you can be added to one if you had a hub. The cameras must be within 100 feet of the hub to properly operate. This is pretty much universal for everybody who's got a hub. They got to be a fixed distance or less to the communication element before it can get to Wi-Fi. And you have to pay a subscription if you want to save this on the cloud. $10 a month or $100 a year gives you a 2-month discount. Includes all of your cameras. Ring. Specifically the stick-up cam, because the regular Ring doorbell is powered by a powered source and is sort of wireless, but it's wired to power. You can get a Ring stick-up cam and put it anywhere. and you can get it dual powered. So you can either use solar or with battery or AC and battery. So when the solar isn't, the solar will let it run, or AC will let it run. And then if AC fails or the solar goes away, then the battery can be pulled upon. The battery can last 6 to 12 months if you just ran it on battery. Has live view and night vision and custom motion zones. So you can define on the screen where you want motion to be sensitive. This one is a 1080p camera, has a 110-degree horizontal view, and I think it's only a 70-degree vertical view. Two-way audio, quick release battery pack and solar panel option. This one only does 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi only. You can use it without a subscription. Ring Protect offers 60 days of cloud storage, $3 per month per device. WiseCam. Then there's several WiseCams that are out there as well. Typically, here's the indoor camera. His WiseCam 2 is 1080p. This one, kind of strange the way they do the free versus the paid. It captures 12 seconds of video with a 5-minute cooldown. That means if something's happening within 5 minutes, you probably will miss it. But with a subscription, there's no cooldown. You just pay $1.25 a month per camera for the subscription. A WiseCam 3 is indoor and outdoor. It gives you a 14-day rolling storage, which is free, but the free one only gives you video clips, not full video. You can use a micro SD slot for local recording, two-way audio, and this one does require a power source for outdoor use, and it is supplied with a camera, and it is outdoor. It's outdoor hardened. Canary Pro, that's another one I hadn't heard of before. This one was interesting. It was an indoor only one, but it has a 147-degree wide angle view. That's almost, eye to eye wide. Has a built-in 90 dB siren. This one goes for $99 a year and a couple bucks a month for each additional camera. With the basic plan, you get only a 1-day history and video clips. The Pro, you get full-length video with a 30-day history. And also with Pro, they extend the warranty on the device. Most of these only have a 1-year warranty, extends it to 2 years. This one can also be plugged into Ethernet. And another interesting thing about this one also can monitor your temperature, your air quality, and humidity sensors at the same time. And it even has a 3-axis accelerometer, so they can probably detect when somebody picks it up and throws it across the room. This is a 2.4 gigahertz Ethernet or Bluetooth, does not require a hub. And then I finally have the Google Nest Cam. Google is one of the big dogs on the block as well. The outdoor version does use an AC adapter. You can get the outdoor Nest Cam for around $200. The indoor Nest Cam, $129. They make an IQ version, which has greater resolution and a thing called SuperSight. SuperSight allows the capability to zoom in on the thing that's moving and get a better picture. This has a 130-degree view. This one is a 2.4 and 5 gigahertz capable. So you can have it connect via 5 gigahertz, which is less problematic but has lesser range. Depending on the bandwidth available going upstream, it can either support 720 or 1080p. And it's kind of frugal in bandwidth. You only need maybe a couple megabytes of bandwidth to support 1080p. You can be alerted if you've purchased the Nest Aware subscription, and that gives you like a 3-hour snapshot history. Nest Cam Outdoor IQ has SuperSight with a 4K sensor and HDR. $400 per camera is a little pricey. I'm starting to get into the same ballpark as those IP cameras for the Spico system I mentioned earlier. Nest Cam Indoor IQ has SuperSight sensor as well, but it's $300 and it's not certified for outside. And the app for Nest Aware is about $6 a month for 30-day storage, $12 a month for 60-day storage. And that's pretty much what I had to talk about. Did anybody have any questions about what I have on the screen?
Can you send it?
There. You want me to send out the presentation, right?
Right.
Yes, please.
Let's see. My computer. Why is my computer always the bottom one there when I select this stuff? Okay. That's the one I want. There it is. And for the one of you that can't do this, I will go ahead and copy this. That's the one I want. B. All right, presentation. All right, it's on your way.
On those that have the batteries and they last from anywhere 6 to 12 months, how expensive are the batteries to replace?
Depends on the battery. Some rechargeable batteries, they're all over the gamut on this.
Do they have their own batteries, or you can?
And it depends. Okay, because some of them have a battery pack with a quick battery pack. You can swap out one and plug in another. Others are using either type of like lithium batteries, or they can be using alkaline batteries. If they're rechargeable, they're going to be a custom battery pack. If they're not a rechargeable battery, and people do make aftermarket things for these things as well, including solar panels as aftermarket for some of them, but it's not always a guarantee that they will work flawlessly with your camera. Okay, and I will email to you as well. Again, and each one is a little bit different on some of that in terms of the capabilities. And they, like I said, if they have rechargeable battery packs, then they will most likely be custom. All right, let's go ahead and forward this.
Where these camera units that have external power, not batteries, are they using a low voltage system, or are they using 110 or?
They're using a USB type of supply. I think one of them had an 8-volt, but the camera input turns out to be a 5-volt to 1 amp input, which is pretty much wall wart. The Blink hub has one of these guys to support it. Okay, so this is just nothing more than a USB adapter because it comes in on a micro USB to power the hub. And I suspect a lot of these are going to be similar. In terms of the internals on these cameras, we're going to have something that's probably pretty close to what a Raspberry Pi requires. It might require a little more power than the typical 5-volt adapter will provide, maybe 1 or 2 amps. If they're only running on battery, obviously they have to be a super low power drain. And the lithium batteries, the reason they spec the lithium batteries in those cases is because they have the lowest voltage drop over time for a battery that's being unused. Basically, there's just enough power being drawn to run the sensor to see if anything moved in the sensor's field of view. Then it will fire up the processor. The processor will wake up, take the full image, fire up the Wi-Fi or whatever the communication to the hub is, send the image to the hub, make sure it gets an acknowledge, and then goes back to sleep again. That's typical of all types of devices that run only on batteries. The whole name of the game is how much power do I need over what period of time, and how can I reduce that to almost nothing? If you're going to run full video all the time, you better find a way of powering your camera other than running on batteries. If you have a lot of motion, if you have a street behind you, you don't want to aim your camera so it's picking up the street unless you want it to trigger every time a car goes by.
Well, but I thought you were saying that one of them only had like a 30-foot out.
That's what it can normally trigger with. But when a large heat source like a car goes by, it may trigger it very easily.
Okay.
And my X10 is running continuously. So it'll record for about 5 days and it just overlaps on the little SD card, but it's running continuously.
Yeah, it's video and it's recording, but that kind of operation will definitely chew up the SD card or the USB chip, and at some point in time it'll become unreadable. That's why people that put in these dash cams that are running with SD cards, the SD manufacturers will not warranty a chip that's used in a dash cam video.
Yeah, we've had that problem in the Tesla cars. Yeah. People put the cheap cards in there, and they don't last.
Well, even if you have an expensive card, it's only good for so many cycles per location. So, and depending on what format it's using for the SD card's native format, I don't think they normally reformat these things to NTFS or something else, which is a journaling system. Or if they're just trying to do a FAT32 and the bitmap area of the flash drive wears out first.
Well, they recommend using these things that are designed for, multiple reads, and not, the cheap.
Well, you can get they make different kinds of cards, but sometimes those require a little bit different interface than a USB. That's why I wondered if any of these things would work with a spinning hard drive. Of course, I'm not going to necessarily, I'd have to power that inside on a hub. That's why the hubs sometimes, that sounds like a good idea. If the hub can support a spinning hard drive and record everything on that, then it's just like a wired security system for all intents and purposes, but it has no requirement to run wires out to each individual camera. But you won't find a lot of these security cameras recording everything to SSD.
Any chance you could figure out a way to feed them to a TiVo?
If they have a video out feed, yes, they could. But TiVo is going to want to record it all the time, and then you have to figure a way. The problem with the TiVo is is there a way to skip through stuff quickly that you don't have to go through that 3 week long recording?
There's commercial skip on TiVo.
I'm saying that's skipping commercials. I mean, I need something that skips days ahead. See, if I go into my Spico stuff, it does storage by day because it's designed to do by day. And then I can select on the slider what hour I want to look at, and then I can go from that point on. So commercial systems have this already figured out, how I can go ahead and use an app through a web browser, and then I'm skipping through. And basically, that Spico system is nothing more than a Raspberry Pi hooked up to the video cameras, maybe a little bit more bigger hard drives, spinning hard drives, same kind of capabilities. And it's not particularly quick at responding to stuff when I'm doing the user interface, but it gets the job done.
Yeah, I can do that on my X10, either on my iPad or my phone. And I can pick what day or what time.
Yeah.
And then it'll just display that particular thing. And then you can actually save an actual picture or photo for that if you want.
Well, see, the commercial ones will let you say start time, end time, snapshot the video for me, and then it downloads as an MP4. And then I can send it over to the police and said, here's the one you're looking for.
How do these all sense motion? Can you ever take one and let's say in the house and point it out your window and can sense motion or no?
It might sense motion. It may not work on infrared so well because glass has a tendency to block some of it. So unless it's outside, you're not going to have infrared sensing too well. Okay. But if there's enough light, yes, you can sense motion. But normally what you do is you declare with a setup screen what portion of the video you want to be sensitive to motion and ignore everything else outside of that area. So you can focus on somebody walking on the sidewalk to your house. Or you aim the camera down far enough such that it's not picking up the street. But maybe sometimes you want to see the street, not necessarily, but see what truck rolled in the driveway. It's kind of an art trying to figure out how to make it work the way, and not everybody's motion sensing works reliable. I mean, people have complained about Blink not recording stuff in time, like it triggered the video, but I didn't capture anything. You missed the possum that walked by. People want to record a coyote going by, but they usually are through the area and gone before it triggers anything. And because they're wearing a heavy fur coat in many cases, they're not going to trigger the infrared either.
And raccoons have a mask. So.
Yeah, they are. They're the smart ones. They're still wearing masks.
Did you see that video of that airplane that crashed that was recorded on somebody's doorbell?
That was on it. Yeah, I think that was a Ring video.
How was that triggered?
It hit a car. Yeah.
Well, because it was motion sensitive, and it also had a lot of heat.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, see, that's the thing, is that sometimes some of the cameras, they don't capture the video. If they only sense video and then do the trigger for the capture, they've usually missed the thing they want. A smart capture is recording in background all the time. And then when the trigger occurs, it says stay from that 30 seconds ago till 30 seconds after this event. And now I have the before, the during, and the after. But that requires more power being used all the time to do free running video. That's basically what it's got to do for motion sensing, or at least once a second it's got to do motion sensing. But if it can do free running video and then do the capture when it needs to, that's what wired cameras will do.
That's what happens on my Tesla. It's constantly recording.
Yeah.
And then if I want to save it, I punch it and it'll save the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, Sid.
There is, as far as I've seen, not a wireless camera in existence that triggers properly in terms of recording. Go to the support sites for any of these guys, and I mean any of these guys, and it's the same complaint on all of them. Basically, the trigger is always too late, and it always cuts off too soon. So it triggers the guy's dropping a package on your stoop. You basically get the back of his feet going away.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's because because it's gone into deep sleep mode. It hasn't seen the movement yet. By the time it detected movement and says, yes, that's really movement, and it wakes up, it's already missed the event it wanted. That's why the wired system is sometimes better, that can be sitting there doing free running video the entire time and can back up what you want. But that's the compromise. Do you want battery life or do you want to capture the video?
But I think, again, the whole thing is, it depends what you're trying to do. If you're trying to, earlier you used the word security cameras. And yeah. I don't think these wireless guys are really security cameras. They're cameras. They capture some stuff. But I don't see how you rely on these guys for security, really.
Well, what you can do is you can record long enough. If somebody is in the neighborhood long enough, like they were trying to drill out the lock on your front door, then they would probably catch them. But if you're just trying to do somebody who just lit the bag of dog poop on your front door and then ran away, you might not catch much of it.
How many guys are out there drilling through your front door? Virtually nobody's doing that unless it's a particular crime site that they have to get in a particular house. Otherwise, they're looking for easy pickings.
Well, they may be just coming up and checking the door to see if it's open or not.
Yeah, and they'll go up and try the door. They'll smash it in a hurry and go in. But they're not going to take a drill there or use a glass cutter to cut out a
No, they're not going to be nice about it. Yeah, they're going to try and do it.
They're not going to do that. They're just really not going to do that. So I think my purpose for the Ring was specifically, no matter where I was, I could answer the door. It's awful for that. It doesn't work. The trigger time it takes to get the notification to my phone, the person's gone. by the time I get a phone notification. And not only before I get a phone notification, but you get the phone notification, then you have to load the app.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's no hope by the time you actually load the Ring app that the person is still standing there twiddling their thumbs, waiting on you so you can talk to them. It's impossible.
Well, Sid, can you put an external speaker outside so you can yell at them from a distance? Hey, come back, I want to talk to you.
No. When you press the doorbell, it does not ring, but it plays a message outside that says, please wait, master is being dispatched.
It is, but it does. It just boggles me. And it doesn't matter if you're even home. I mean, I have a chime unit, so the chime chimes when that's hit. But it boggles me just how long it takes. And I worked with Ring in the days of yore to make it faster. That's why they gave me the Chime Pro. And 5 years of the recording service as a freebie, because they were working with me back in the beta days trying to make it work, and it couldn't be done, and they knew it couldn't be done. You could not reliably get a Ring signal to your phone and get that up fast enough to actually answer it. And the other thing was, it doesn't have the capacity to override mute settings on the phone.
Yeah.
They know that's a limitation. So if your phone is muted because you don't want to be bothered with other stuff, you can't hear the Ring either because it doesn't have the capacity to override the mute. It's doable. I mean, I have tiles, and if I press the tile button, the phone will trigger. Even if it's muted, it'll still play.
Right.
So it's doable, but the Ring guys just are like, we can't do that. We don't know how to do it. We don't think it can be done.
Yeah. Hey, Jerry, do you recognize this person in the waiting room?
I was just going to ask you the same question.
I don't recognize it, and it's a strange mnemonic.
I'm not going to put them in.
Okay.
It'd be nice if you could put somebody like that in a virtual room with artificial people.
That would be good. A bunch of avatars that are sitting there talking about stuff we talked about an hour ago.
All you got to do is put them in a ballpark right now. You know, all the what is it? Paper backings of people in that in the ballpark.
The cardboard cutouts.
Yeah, the
cardboard cutouts. Yeah, the hockey game. Yes.
It doesn't matter if it's hockey, baseball, football, basketball, name one. They all have them.
Basketball's now doing some live.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, they're doing live. And Great America is opening April 24th.
Did you hear something where the government is going to be doing something on these spam phone calls where they're going to make them illegal?
They've been prosecuting some of the ones that had the Social Security fraud, the one that masqueraded as Discover, and what else was the other one? Social Security, Medicare, and then there was another one.
But I mean, where they're not supposed to be making the phone calls.
No, but that shake and stir is supposed to block it up front, but not everyone is implemented. The thing that the government is, they track down somebody who was enabling this call, and they fine them hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah, there were two Texas spammers.
No, this isn't the Texas one. These were Canadian firms.
Oh.
Yeah, this was
Texas
just today.
Texas has two that were doing insurance fraud shit.
Yeah, that one I knew about.
They got $225 million.
I put the story link in the chat, but supposedly they made 1 billion calls.
Yeah, it's just a ridiculous amount.
Yeah, I mean, 1 billion calls. Somebody said, so the amount of fine is cheaper than phone service costs would have been for them.
And I got 500 million of those calls at my house alone.
There you go.
I was just the same thing. They keep filling up my voicemail.
Yeah,
in my area, Comcast has instituted something called verified caller ID, where they'll have a little V after a number that they have verified as a real number.
Really?
Yeah. And they have had the capacity to solve this problem for eons. They don't want to. They make money off it. There is no question that given every phone has a unique number, they know this already, but they haven't cared. So they're finally starting to do this certified program, but they've been able to do this since the start of the cell phone age.
Well, even on that, it's very easy to take any smartphone and spoof your number so that it looks like you're calling from a different number than you actually are.
But you can't. But at the base level of the handshake, the cell tower and the cell system, you can't spoof that.
Right.
You're logging into your account via that IMI number, and that's a fixed number. It isn't changing.
There were 6 firms today that were definitely penalized by. And they included RSCom of Canada, which had Social Security, IRS, electric utilities, and Apple spam. Stratix Networks of Canada for facilitating fraudulent calls about COVID-19, student loans, political campaigns, and discounts and updates for AT&T and DirecTV. Yodel Technologies in Florida, Social Security, health insurance, and debt reduction services. Icon Global in UK, which had robocalls that inundated the DC Police Department. IDT of New Jersey for transmitting on behalf of clients illegal robocalls about health insurance, COVID-19, Social Security, fictional Amazon refunds, computer services, credit cards, and fraudulent calls. And Third Rock Telecom of Canada,
are these
fictional Apple iCloud breach account calls.
Are these just fines in name only, or do they have any chance of collecting from anybody? You know?
Oh yeah, they'll if they can't find the company, they'll find the people. You know, remember when they go after them in Canada, we have Mounties to actually get their men. That's serious when a Canadian company gets indicted because they have people that will find you. They have dogs that can sniff you out
if they have an interest in doing it. But my understanding, if they're in most of the world, we have no ability to really track them or get them, and we've never successfully dealt with those folks. What surprised me about these Texas guys is they were actually doing it from Texas.
Yeah, that is kind of weird that they were allowed to do it. From those places, but
they're doing it in the United States. That's the most dangerous thing there is because there they can get you.
Well, they might have used the Texas utility networks, which are actually off grid.
There you go. there you go.
And Sid, they probably only live half a mile from the Mexican border. So
but that
nothing stopping them running across the other way.
Except that huge new wall. Never mind.
they have a warehouse in McAllen, Texas. And it has a tunnel that goes straight down and out. It goes both ways. Yes.
Never mind. No, that's insane stuff. Can I go back a subject?
Sure.
I was waving frantically earlier when you were talking about the Facebook spoofing. I had to flip devices. Chabad was doing a talk on burials and burial stuff for Jews, and I was dying to hear that. So I had to.
Yeah, but it'll never happen on the Sabbath. So
I had to jump back to that. What's funny about that is that he was talking about burials in Israel. They do them on even Yom Kippur because it's a higher level mitzvah for the burial than for the holiday. which I thought was interesting. And the reason here they don't do it on the Sabbath is because the cemetery workers won't work on the day.
Unless you got some Gentiles that'll do it for you.
No, the Gentiles are the ones who won't work on the weekend. I mean, if they were Jews, they would feel it an obligation and would probably do it. But
I used to work for a company where on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, the only people left in the office were the Gentiles running the place. So we wanted to declare a Gentile holiday. We were going to, like Good Friday, but it didn't work out because it was Passover.
Yeah, well, that's sort of like the Chinese restaurants on Christmas for the Jews. Yes. But anyway, on the Facebook one, just a couple things. There's 3-dot menu at the top of the page, and that's what you pull down to do the reporting on that.
Okay.
But the thing is, it's not really a thing for the person being spoofed to report. It's for the person who gets friended and sees it to report as a fake. Don't count on the person who actually it is. I've told multiple people, you're being spoofed, and they didn't know what I was talking about, didn't know what to do, and didn't know how to handle it. So it's your place to hit the 3 dots and report it as a fake. The number one security thing to always do if you're on Facebook, and why people don't do this, I think they take it as a badge of honor. Do not show your friends list. Turn that off on your timeline page, because that's what these guys are using to know who to send to. If you're not showing your friends list, they have no idea then who to send all these requests to. They haven't violated your password or gotten into your account. They're just looking at that page and saying, here's your list of friends. And they grab that list and just send to those people having taken a picture off your page. This isn't rocket science they're doing. It's easiness 101. Grab a picture and grab the list of friends and start sending to them. Because if any of those people accept, then they have open access as a friend to that person's stuff. So don't show your friends list there. Even if you have gazillions of friends, be proud you do, but don't put that out there, because that's what they're mainly using to get that information.
Where do you change that or check to see what it's set?
It's under security.
Under security, isn't it?
I'm pretty sure.
I didn't see it there. That's why I want to know. Under your profile, I don't sure.
I'm doing, let me look here. It's been so long since I've done that. It's under settings. Let's see here. I'll keep looking. I'll tell you in a couple minutes here. It's been a long time since I've done that, but it's that list that gets you the most in trouble, because people will just grab.
Yeah, because I thought I'd turned it off, but I don't know. Probably not. I'm not sure. Friends of friends can see my friends. Right now, only friends can see my friends list.
Mm-hmm.
So I have that set. That's under how people can find and contact you under privacy settings and tools. Click the privacy under settings. Yeah. And then the second major block, how people can find and contact you, who can send you friend requests, friends of friends, who can see your friends list, friends.
Yeah. And that's I have it for friends on that also.
Yeah, which does restrict it. So maybe that's why I don't have a doppelganger yet.
But if you don't do that, because by default that's open, if you don't do that, that's how they'll spoof you. They'll just see that list, and then they know who to send friend requests.
I mean, if they compromise one of your friends, then they can see that, because they can try and become, compromise the friend, and it looks sort of like, I'm not sure if it'll see yours, but if he spools people that he could become one of the other people for some reason, then they could get to your stuff.
Well, I mean, basically, somebody spoofs a friend of yours. That's what happened to me. Is I wasn't paying enough attention, and I didn't accept, and they started then sending friend requests to everybody that I was friends with, and I spotted it, fortunately, very quickly, and sent everybody messages saying, "Do not accept a friend."
Yeah, I think we both had the same person trying to do the same thing. Like they friended you, and they sent me a friend request and said, who knows this person? Sid, do you know this person? Ah.
Yeah.
I put a thing out on Facebook, and I just said that don't accept anything from me.
But that just didn't clue them in if they said, okay, now I can send more friend requests.
Yeah.
But I already had my Facebook account pretty much limited to like friends and friends of friends as far as it would go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it. On the other hand, I'm one of those weird people. All my posts are fully public.
But I don't know if I post something on some shared area, what happens if they look at my profile? Can they see anything, or are they going to just see limited about me?
They'll see limited about you. I try to, when some idiot posts on the Daily Herald, I'll try to look at their timeline to get a feel for who they are before responding. And you'll see nothing posted for 5 years. But it doesn't mean they didn't post anything. It means that the stuff later than that was under different privacy rules.
Uh-huh. Or they're Russian hackers.
That too. That too. Or they're Jim Oberweis, but that's a different discussion. That's a different. He just took his whole, because he was suing to get into Congress.
Ain't gonna work.
And so his whole Oberweis for Congress thing, he took the whole thing down.
I'm sorry. There's still so many people out there that believe there was election fraud that went on, and I'm sorry that people don't like to have a broader view of the entire news feeds that are available to them so they can make an informed decision.
Did you see the story in Florida today?
I don't think I did. Was it on 1440? No.
No, three Republicans were arrested for fraud during the elections. They paid this one guy $45,000 to run as a third-party candidate, running under the name Rodriguez to go against a guy named Rodriguez, who was the Democrat, to siphon off enough votes. And he ended up losing the real one by 36 votes. So it worked fairly well. So he's been arrested, and the guy who funded him has been arrested. And
but that may not go anywhere if they use the prior case law of the same guy that Madigan used to siphon away votes from the other person that was of Hispanic descent, and they pushed another candidate to confuse the voters so that we split the vote between the two. And Madigan never got indicted on that.
Again, different state, wouldn't even matter. I don't know the full story of the Illinois, but Illinois laws don't matter to them.
Yeah.
But it was an incredibly weird setup. I mean, they basically pay this guy $45,000 to run, and then he was never seen again. And a reporter went to the door asking for him, and he said, "Oh, he's not here. He'll be here soon." And it was the guy who answered the door.
But that's not him. I'm his twin brother.
So Sid, did the fake Democrat win, or did the Republican win?
The Republican won in all three of those districts.
Okay.
Because the fake guys they called it something like the NPA party. And what they found in the records, it was the same back end. They were using the same ads for all three, just changing the names. The funding was all from the same guys giving the money. And the same people signed the petitions for all three.
I just love the fact that, the Republican Party has decided to embrace Trump, but then Trump decides, no, you can't use my likeness anymore. Only if it goes to my PAC and not yours. May we live in interesting times.
We do. We do.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Anybody got some suggestions for future meetings?